Welcome to AEC Stories. This is former SM3 Dempsey of the USS Mount Hood podcast. And today we've got our main guy, the guy that really helps keep the podcast alive, who supports us and shows up when I'm running. You know, I need a guy to hit the home run at the end of the day when I don't have enough batters. Jay Ortega.
Sir. Yes.
Coincidentally, Jay, you've been the leading people have listened to your podcast the most. Osen Johnson's coming up behind you, but you've had the most downloads. People like the Sailor Beware edition, so maybe we'll go into some of that.
Okay.
Maybe this will become Sailor Beware, right?
Oh, yes. I mean, whatever question, I'll try to take out the names to avoid
persecution or whatever.
Yes. Right.
We're not here to put anybody in jail. Or get them in trouble with their new wives or whatever. But, the thing is, I think once we were young and now everybody's become digitalized, they're more homebound, they get 500,000 channels to watch in YouTube and whatever. And I think what we miss about it as we get older, and tell me if you agree, is that the movement, we were always moving. We were always going somewhere, packing up, getting on the ship and going somewhere.
Oh, yes.
You miss that?
I mean, before I got into the Navy, I was always, I was one of those people. I always loved to stay in one place, but joining the Navy, I mean, they didn't give you much of a damn choice. I mean, you had to move. I mean,
yeah.
So it was a nice, change of pace. So
you don't realize it till later. It seemed more arduous, like, oh my gosh, I got to get off my ass. I got to move. I got to go. We're going away again. But, now people work so hard and stay in one place, home to work. And they're like, can't wait to save up my money so I can go away somewhere, go on a cruise.
All right. It's later on this coming spring break, my son was asking me if, where could I take him for his birthday? For spring break, and he was like, well, I gave him a choice, San Antonio, Dallas, or Oklahoma City to see an NBA game, but it's just nowadays it's kind of a lot more laid back, but still you're always on the move, you're always thinking a couple steps ahead. So
yeah, as you get older you start well we were in when you're in the Navy, you're a young man, and you get out on a ship. You're being told what to do. They have a plan of the day, and there's always something in motion of what you're going to do next. And you coincidentally used to write those plans of the days later when you became a yeoman. But, I guess, it's making me bounce around, but you were telling me before we started the show, you listened to, Tony Adams, who basically went from like nuclear torpedo gunner's mate guy or whatever he was doing is a gunner's mate. And he wanted to become a yeoman because his dad told him that this is what you got to do if you want like the hookups in the Navy.
I mean, I never knew, or I guess I totally forgot that he used to be a gunner's mate. But if it wasn't for Mr. Adams, because I know being the type of cat that I was back in the day, young whippersnapper. Oh my God! I mean, I think I caused him to smoke a lot of pack of cigarettes. I mean, considering I had a real shitty attitude. I mean, he actually took the time to, let's go out and smoke. I need to fucking talk to you. He would say, what the fuck are you doing? You're pissing away a perfect opportunity. You know how many people would love to, switch positions where you're at right now. Would you rather be at deck, or would you still want to be humping ammo? And I would just, at that time, you think you have the world by the balls. I mean,
oh yeah, you believe in magic still when you're that young. Like, yeah, whatever you're saying's wrong, and I will magically be redeemed to be right in another week. But it never happens.
No, and it just. I'm glad that the Navy had people. There's always somebody above you to put you in your place, and I'm always grateful that I had the opportunity to have people above me, as far as supervisor wise, to put me in my place. At the time, I may not have appreciated it, but I'm glad that someone took the time to say, slow the hell up and realize what the fuck you're doing. I mean, because
you're looking back at it now. I didn't know you worked with Adams.
Oh yes. He brought a different light into the ship's office. Although I think there was some kind of tension between him and the chief and that enormously big YN1 that we had.
Yeah. I don't, it's funny. I do a podcast with him. Then I realize I'm bringing up memories of your past and people of your work locker that worked with you, I mean, they worked in the same environment and like he was probably a mentor. And, I knew Tony because he used to hang out at the Signal Bridge, but he was also, had worked over at Moffett Field and he became a reserve police officer at the time.
Well, I knew that, I guess when he would tell me, well, I'm going to go up to the Signal Bridge and talk to the signalman. And I was just like, well, can I go? And then, of course, he'd look at me like, get out, quit kissing my ass or get off my ass cheeks and go find your own damn place to smoke. And I was just like, you know what? He probably really does want to get the hell away from me.
Well, as grown-ups, you'd get along better when you're, it's funny when you're young, we called it in the Navy, we called it 19 and know-it-all syndrome, mm-hmm. And you're trying to tell your boss how it is, and you've got nothing but excuses because you're a good excuse maker when you're young. And my chief just, he shut it down one day, Chief Hill. He said, listen here, Dempsey, there's no such thing as a good excuse. And I thought about it and I'm like, ooh, he just cut all the corners because I want to give an excuse to that too.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
So when did you end up working with Adams?
Oh gosh. I think it was just, did Adam say he came aboard right after the Desert Shield?
I think so. We got to look back in our archives of podcasts.
And I'm thinking that's when it was. And, he sure did have a lot of, information to share. And,
yeah.
It was just, you can always tell, how when you come across certain individuals that been in the Navy a good while, that they got their shit together.
Yeah, he was squared away. He knew what was up to. I mean, he knew the value of the rate that you were getting into. You didn't really know the value of it. Like, I probably didn't really realize the value of being a signalman even more so now that I've been over here podcasting everybody, listen to what you gunners mates had to do, humping ammo and moving stanchions, and then listening to the bosun's mates and their grindy work schedule. So yeah, I mean, being a yeoman had probably some days when you had to get a lot of stuff done and you felt stressed out, but probably also, had some privileges. Like you could manage your day a little better. You wouldn't be covered in paint at the end of the day, right?
Oh, he made it quite clear, a large amount of times that, he was, think about what you're doing, you're sitting on your ass typing on a piece of paper where, but before Desert Shield, you spent a small time in deck, you were chipping in paint, then you went to go humping ammo. He goes, how well do you like it now? And I said, oh, hell, I could smoke as much as I want to, I don't have to sweat as much. I mean, oh God, it was paradise.
Yeah.
And of course, what I didn't realize at the time was the amount of politics. I mean, that goes on above the waterline. I mean,
you had to learn the second language. You had to learn a different type of communication from the old, give me the damn thing, pass the piece of shit paintbrush, rah.
Well,
right?
Cursing is not, conducive to an office environment. And, I can't begin to tell you how many times I had people go to my chief and my division officer or the captain and complain about my mouth. I mean, it was nothing for me to yell out, continuously, fuck this, fuck that. You got to be fucking kidding me. And,
right.
And of course, people were like, you got a certain decorum, you have to follow in the ship's office. then that doesn't involve saying fuck every 5 seconds.
That's true. And that's the thing. It's like, you're going to be around people that communicate at a higher level and also understand that you're dealing with the decision makers on the ship. You're not dealing with, 10 guys in a bucket of paint. You're dealing with the managers. You're dealing with the officers. And total different league, right? Pretty much.
Oh gosh. I mean, it's night and day, and it just, you get a whole different appreciation of, what the upper echelon, what they have to put up with. But then again, I guess people started to treat me differently once they knew I was in the ship's office. I became, from that person that, hey, that's a new guy, let's not talk to him from, hey, you're that new guy, hey, you mind helping me out?
You had something that people needed, and that's what Tony was alluding to, in his conversation with me. Because, hey, you need transfer, you need orders, you're going to go up for promotion, they get your records, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's pretty much how it was. That's what you were looking at. I mean, you could pull some strings for people. So now you were in a position where people needed what you had. Just like a guy in supply, he's got the ice cream hookup or something.
Oh, exactly. It just, I guess regardless whether it was for officers or enlisted, I mean, you knew how quickly the value of, being in that ship's office could be pushed to your benefit. I mean, it's just, everybody, it's hard to believe, but, you're everybody's best friend once you're in that office, and, they want to cozy up to you. And the offers that, that were pushed my way, I mean, a lot of them were on the edge of being, committing some serious violations. I mean, but.
Well, it's basic. It's horse trading. As Bosun Johnson and I had a conversation. He's like, yeah, you horse trade. And we didn't have it on the podcast, but like, hey, you're trying to get something for, get some hookups. Hey, we'll do this for you if you do that for us, kind of thing. And, basically, in your case, what kind of favors did people want from being in the ship's office? Why was it? Because it sounded like, you had the juice. Like, what did people want? I never tried to get anything out of ship's office that I recall, but how did it usually work?
Well, I know for enlisted, I mean, I was always getting offered money for IDs.
ID cards, yeah.
I was always getting money offers to know when the next piss test was.
Why would you know that? I thought radio knew that. You guys knew?
Well, the master at arms, it was an old first class, and every time when it came time for a piss test, he would give me a dice or one or two dice and said roll, and whatever I rolled, that would be the number.
The social security number,
right?
They pick for the urinalysis, huh?
Exactly. And so I always knew it, or he would always give me a couple of days advance. Hey, I'm going to need you to roll some dice for me. And I said, oh, we're going to have a game of craps. He looked at me and said, no, you dumbass, you're going to roll for the piss test. So,
interesting.
And I made some good money on that because, I guess everybody, they got friends in different divisions that, they smoke various,
weed
forms of tobacco. Yes.
Yeah. Which is now legal in California, but it was the devil's weed back then. But I mean, honestly, I've smoked it before myself. It doesn't really give you the best mental acuity when you need to be doing a dangerous job. I'll be honest with you, man. It's like, it's great if you want to eat some pizza. Not great if you want to be steering a ship or looking out for bad guys on watch. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, I knew there was guys that did it. There's guys that did all kinds of crazy things. I mean, there's a lot of guys that joined the Navy. It was like they back in our era. Now they've gotten really strict. Now they got to get lenient again. They go through different phases on the recruiting methods. So basically, when I got in, there was a lot of guys that got in because it was either go to jail or go in the Navy. You see what I'm saying? It was like a different kind of draft. It was like you have that choice. Now, go ahead.
I had a friend. I mean, of course, instead of going to the Navy, he went to the Army, but he got into a bit of legal trouble, and he came back to me one time, and after his one legal interruption in his life, and he said, "I'm going to the Army." And I looked at this guy and I said, "What the hell did you? I mean, damn! I thought you were supposed to get put on probation." He said, "Well, they gave me a choice: prison or go to the Army." And I said, "Good Lord! I mean, that ain't much of a choice." And he said, "Hell, it beats going to prison." And I said, "Well, good luck." But
hell, if I was a recruiter, I would have just met the local judges and, hey, send them my way. I'll be waiting for you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. May I have another? I'm hitting my quota.
You would always hear stories, of people that, that was their only option, go to the military, go to the prison. And I was just like, well, hell, you don't have to tell me twice. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have second thoughts about joining any branch. I'd go Navy, 10 out of 10 times.
Oh yeah. But that's the thing. It's like, see, when you mix that element, you could be just a regular kid looking for a job, looking for a new adventure. And you may be clean cut. You may be low on the crime level. Maybe you drank too many beers one night and getting a little scuffle in the backyard, but that's as bad as your criminality gets, right? And you join the Navy with all these guys that either, who knows, maybe they robbed a liquor store. I don't know what level of leniency they let it go to, right? But there's guys that what they got caught for was probably the smaller end of what they got into. So they had a criminal past. So when I was on the ship, there was like a kid whose dad was in the mob and he was hanging out doing cocaine and he got kicked out. And there was all kinds of crazy guys like that, that I was just a guy that's like, I like to drink and have fun, but I'm not going off the deep end with you. But there was a lot of guys that succumb to peer pressure on trying different drugs or dating the wrong woman and things like that, I
mean, growing up the way I did on the Mount Hood, it just, you have your certain individuals that would do, whatever illegal substances, but I'm just like, and when they'd offer it to me, I'm like, hell, I got a hard enough time as it is trying to keep myself out of being written up all the damn time. I'm not going to jeopardize it just for, a couple joints or snort a line of cocaine. I said, that's not for me. Call me a square, call me what you will, but it just, if I'm going to fuck up, I'm going to fuck up the old fashioned way. I'm going to earn this damn thing,
You're going to drink your way into it like most guys did, right?
Exactly. It's just, I just saw no need for it. And for me personally, I was just like, I signed on the dotted line, to how we say to protect and defend. And I would put my time in, the right way.
I wouldn't be opposed to letting you do it after work, but to do it at work, if you let them do it after work or when you're in shore, you can smoke weed legally. Let's say it becomes legal all around America. Great. But then that opens the door for guys. Well, I do it every day. Might as well, do it on the ship. No one's going to notice, it's not that big of a deal. And then it becomes a big deal. You know what I mean? But
go ahead.
I can just imagine, and I'm just speculating here. I could just imagine how wonderful it would have been to smoke weed in the middle of the friggin' Indian Ocean on a pure starlit night, just chilling out in the middle of the sea. That would have been wonderful. But I wouldn't have been on my game either, though. I would have mentally sidestepped my duties because I never played around. I even sold my beers on beer day for good money.
Oh, gosh. You can make a hellacious killing selling your beers.
I get a podcast coming up with a guy who was in the hole where you guys used to have all the weapons, and he was drinking the beers off of there.
But
you're bored. What are you going to do? Hey, let's get in some mischief. That's what mischief comes from boredom, I think.
Well, we Uh, of course, I guess when we were appeared at Alameda or Concord or Oakland, we would always have our, I guess, certain watches as far as the gunner's mates were concerned.
Yeah.
And most of the time, either we wind up at the Lightning Shack or one of, I guess, where Massey used to have his office, or down in the Armory.
Yeah.
But down in the Armory, it had the best sound system. I mean, it had a nice little jam box. And, and of course, if you found someone's cigarette stash, I mean, you could light up as much as you wanted. But, of course, we had some killer card games, crap games down there. But
I never went in the Armory. It had a lot of guns in there.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, you name it. I mean, it was a smorgasbord of weapons.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the 50 cal and the M14s and the shotguns and the 45s, and what else did we have?
We had I think a grenade launcher.
Oh, we did, really?
I'm assuming so. If my recollection is correct, a grenade launcher, and of course we had our fair amount of grenades.
That would have came in good help for some friggin' those pirates and shit over in the Persian Gulf. Just give us a grenade launcher. That's all you need. Stay away. Boom. Okay, we're not going near that boat.
But of course, they kept a real good eye or inventory on the grenades, because supposedly they had one gunner's mate use a grenade as a necklace before I got there.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard a story, and this is alleged, and this is not putting his name out there, but there was a guy that stole one out of there, and he was caught with it under his blanket, under his pillow. And they're like, fuck are you doing, buddy? Needless to say, he was kicked out of the military very fast. It's not a toy. It's not a toy. Who are you going to show off to when you get on watch? Look, I got a grenade, man. Well, what? There's no logic to that. You know, you work in the prison system. You probably get a couple guys that stole a grenade in there.
Well, I mean, it's I guess working for the penitentiary system. I mean, you see all types of abnormalities in human beings. I mean, people that pop pills, stick foreign objects in their ass,
smugglers, mules. Yeah.
You'd be surprised how much your orifice can withhold.
Wow. So that's how they smuggled that basketball in. I get it. No.
Not necessarily basketball. We're talking maybe an apple or an orange, but
wow. That's just craziness, man. I mean, you work in the penitentiary. How many ex-veterans are in there?
Oh, brother. I mean, we have a smorgasbord. We've got some Air Force. We've got Marine, Army, of course, Navy. Once in a while. Were
they busted while they were on liberty, or are they former military? What's their situation like?
You mean as far as inmate wise? You got your fair contingent of those two: Army, Navy, Marine.
Yeah, but, I mean, usually, while enlisted, they put them in a military brig. But I wonder what happens if you get busted off base. Well, usually you're going to still get slammed in the military prison, anyways.
Right.
Yeah, and I hear that's no fun.
Well, I told you that story about a roommate of mine that he got arrested for sexual assault.
Oof, not a good move, especially today.
Well, sexual assault of another male.
Whoa.
I like to think that we have our standards, but that's that you crossed the damn line there. But needless to say, this guy eventually got tried and convicted, and he got sent to Leavenworth.
Oh, this was in the military.
Yes.
So he pulled a Kevin Spacey House of Cards moves. I get it. Yeah, that's an interesting thing that's going on. A side note from the military, all these super powerful Hollywood people getting knocked off their porch for harassing people all these years,
but it's just like, for the love of God, it's like a witch hunt. I mean,
But the sick part is that they're guilty. Half of you is like, come on, that's too much. And the other half, you like, damn, you did that. Like friggin' Kevin Spacey like messed around some 14-year-old boy. You know what I mean? It's like they're like, I'm the power. You like that whole TV show could have sunk, but then luckily they're going to find a replacement for him. You know?
Oh, they are.
Yeah, there was 2,000 people's jobs attached to that series. Just because one guy's out there grabbing other guys by their package. Imagine that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the House of Cards series. I mean,
it's a great actor, but he's also acting because that's not what he's really into. He's just a different person than he's portrayed to be.
As far as political series, my all-time favorites are The West Wing, House of Cards, and Madam Secretary.
Those are all very well made. They're well made shows. Yeah. I
mean, I highly recommend it. I mean, for those viewers out there where they live in America or surrounding countries, I mean, to me, that's the epitome of great classic television, soon to be classic television.
So you made me think of something since we're talking about jail people and getting in trouble. You worked as a yeoman. You get to see a lot of people sent off to the jails, right? Or sent off to prison or kicked out or whatever.
Well, of course, I mean,
coming through your desk, right?
Yes.
What was some of the craziest stuff you saw people get into? What kind of crazy crimes?
Well, of course,
the last one you said was enough, but
that one BM3, he was like the sailor of the quarter, sailor of the month, sailor of the year type guy. He was like a third class. I guess Crosby, Stills and Nash, the Grateful Dead were in San Francisco. I forgot what other iconic 60s band was in town, but I think it might have been Santana too. But anyway, this guy he's got everything going for him, third class, always getting sailor of the quarter and what have you. And he just, I don't know what the hell flipped out in him. He winds up testing positive for cocaine, marijuana, LSD.
Everything.
Everything.
He didn't just, I'm going to do one, I'm going to do them all. He must have had one hell of a night.
Oh my God. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And then, being in the office, you're just like, what the hell what went so wrong in this guy's, I mean, I guess when he decided he was going to party, he went all out. This son of a bitch went all out.
He didn't miss anything. Get anything else? Get any airplane glue I can chase this with?
and just like Mr. Adams was saying, it's not, you're not there to judge. I mean, when the campus mask on, I never had the pleasure of attending one. I mean, it's probably to my benefit because I'd probably be a shitty record keeper, but
I went to 3. I went to 3 of them, man. I did probably 70 days time on that ship, I think. 70 to 90 days on restriction. Yep.
Good. I bet did you work your ass off?
I worked out a lot. I slushed a lot of money, made a lot of extra cash. Then I went on leave and took a vacation with all the profit.
Wow.
Me and Seaman Perkins went to Louisiana. I was just like, hey, John, I want to see what the girls are like where you live. He's like, he's like, they cool, man. They cool. He talked with his little Louisiana accent. Come on, Lynn. Come on. Yeah. We went out and I tried all the food. I tried boudin and I tried all the, cuisine, and it was really good Cajun food. I really loved it. I met his football coach, and I think we got drunk in his gas station in front of the parking lot. And the cops rolled up. We're drinking beer right in front of the gas pumps. He's like, get off my property. It's private property, officer. Oh, okay, sir. It was funny.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. He had that kind of juice in that town, Ned. And no, we definitely met some pretty ladies, man. It was so much friendlier than California had been, I was like, wow, this is great. Well, I'm going to move here,
It's just, I don't know, to me, everything about California, just anywhere from the food that I encountered in San Francisco, just the smells, or even how many times I was almost hit by a rolling vehicle at a stop sign Because, at the time I was like, hell, nobody goes to a complete stop in California.
Oh, the California stop, we used to call that. Yeah,
You know,
people do that. They come up to the stop sign, do a little roll and go. It's a millisecond. Yeah.
I was on, I think we were tied up in Alameda one time, and I was walking because I was one of the few unfortunate souls that didn't have a car or didn't know anybody that had a car. So I walked everywhere, and I come to this intersection, and for some reason I see a vehicle, coming up to the stop sign, and this person, I could have sworn, I was like, this person ain't gonna stop for shit, and and this guy was on a bike. And he didn't stop for whatever reason. I guess he actually thought this SOB was going to stop. He got hit by that vehicle. And I swear, geez. I mean, that dude flew and I couldn't even scream. I was just in complete shock. And when it happened, the person in the car, that stupid son of a bitch hit. I can't believe he stepped out. And I was like, well, I can't believe you just wanted to keep on going. I mean, and people were just like, oh my God, did you see this happen? And I'm like, I don't know. I guess I was in shock to see actually somebody get hit. But I'm just like, it makes you like, you actually literally got to think twice before you cross the damn street.
It's interesting that you and Tony both ended up yeoman and also in law enforcement. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, well, yeah, I thought about it the other day when I was listening to the podcast. It's funny that that we're talking about him because I was putting lights up on outside my house, and I was just like, they're talking about Adams being a police cop, and I think about the times that I was a police cop, and I don't know, some of the stories that he would tell me I could actually relate to now, and. Yeah. And you gather a whole appreciation for what he did for as long as he did. And, you get a whole different outlook on how people are, out on the streets. And it is totally different from what, you see on TV or shows like Cops. Although some situations of Cop, you're just like, good Lord, I can't believe this shit, this shit's going on. But
so you worked as a police officer before working at the jails?
No, actually, I started working for the prison system, and then, I think a friend of mine, I had quite a bit of friends that were in the police, were police officers, and then they talked me into it, and I was, I took some college courses, and I took that path for a little bit, and then I continued the officer course, pathway, and I was still a correctional officer.
I see.
But I guess working in the correctional field as a correctional officer prepares you for, what you encounter on the streets, and it's, you're everybody. You wear so many hats as a police officer. I mean. It's just the stress is so freaking.
You're interacting with the innocent as well as the guilty.
Oh gosh,
and it's primarily a higher percentage innocent than the guilty, and now he's getting caught in the group of people there. So many variables, right? I mean, there's so many different things,
and you see you run a gamut of all kinds of shitty people. I mean, just when you think you can't come across, what you think are good people. Life kicks you in the balls and just disappoints you all over again.
It's a tough job to be on the other end of the ugly stick. And that's it. It's just tough.
And 9 times out of 10, you're wherever you go, you're the most hated person.
There's a lot of people from our ship that work in the prison system. I don't know if you knew that. One of my former signalmen, Gainey. Yeah.
Oh, Gainey?
Gainey does, and so does his wife, I believe.
Well, where does Gainey live?
Georgia.
Yeah. Oh, I bet that brother's got some stories to tell.
Trying to get him on, but he's always busy. It's hard. I mean, people's life get in the way, and they're like, "Shoot, I got these next 5 hours. I don't want to be on a podcast.
You know,
I want
and
to
just like
drink beer."
I was talking to you earlier, you know, it's the times that me and you have interacted and done these podcasts. It brings me back, you know, it's a lifeline back to the past. I mean, it was actually, I felt great to be alive back then. I mean, it was, everything was fresh. I mean, you know, I'm living the California dream, you know, what I always wanted to be like when I was a lot younger. I mean, I always, you know, I'm sure my expectations were, you know, pretty out there, but just the chance of getting to talk to you and bringing up memories of, you know, our time on the hood, to me, you know, it makes me feel better when I go to bed.
Oh, I'm glad it does. It's helpful, I think.
My experiences, you know, I tell other former military personnel, I said, you know, I give, you know, props for the show. I tell, you know, if you ever get a chance, listen to the podcast. And there's been a few out there. They've actually listened to the few podcasts that me and you have done, and they're just like, "Whoa, dude! You know, I never knew that you did this and that." Yeah. I said, "But did you like the podcast?" "Oh, hell yeah! You know, y'all guys talk about all kinds of shit." And I said, "You know,
we sure do.
You know, we are all of us weren't exactly you know, squares. I mean, we did have interesting lives, but
that's interesting that you bring it up. I mean, my friend who listens to all of them, you know, he's a civilian guy. He goes, what I really admire is the camaraderie that you guys had together, that you guys, you know, guys were all part of one unit. And where do you as a civilian get to have a family of 400 people? You know what I mean? You look at Google, you probably don't know 99% of the people there unless you're trying to work it. You know what I mean?
The closest thing that I can say that even comes closest to this is my profession as a correctional officer. I mean,
stick together. Yeah.
Oh, you stick together, and then when the shit gets real, I mean, you count on the person next to you. You know, it's that, you know, you never know when you're going to need that SOB next to you, that you can't stand hearing the same shitty story about that girl in Poughkeepsie that he once met back in the day, and that she's only got one eyeball, but hell, she could look good in a skirt, you know. And he's told the same idiotic damn story about how he met her, and you're just like, oh, for the love of God, you know, if I hear that story one more time, I'm gonna fucking do something to you.
You know, well, you're dealing with a lot of people that probably didn't see as much life as you did. You know, who else do you know is going to get out that doesn't join the Navy? Because we're only 3% of the country that join the military, not just the Navy, the rest of the military. So like 3% of the country, 3%, there's 97% of the people that don't know what the hell we're talking about. You know what I mean? Yeah. So out of 100 people, 3 people are going to know what's up. Everyone else will be like, huh? Who are those people? So you come back, at least you found a place of camaraderie where you depend on each other and you serve together and you get that working at the jail system. So that's pretty cool. But there's not too many jobs that you're going to get where you're going to pack up, get on a ship and go. You know, there's nothing like it. And that's why I look back at it now and I'm glad I didn't join the Army. Glad I didn't join the Air Force. Glad I didn't join the Marines. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, tenfold.
Because of that reason, there's I would still like to go back in time and experience each of those different units and doing different jobs there, see what that would be like too.
What I miss a lot is going back to the fantail and just smoking.
Yeah.
And you know, you could be the first. There could be nobody, and you'd be the only guy there. And then, Gary, you know, as sure shit as I'm sitting here talking to you, 5-10 minutes later, a couple more people come to the fantail, and they're like, "Say, man, you got a square I can bum off you?" Sure. You know, next thing you know, there's like 5 or 10 of you, you know, at the fantail smoking, and depending if it was a weekend or early in Monday morning, before one of the petty officers would run everybody the fuck off, you'd have a nice group of people there talking, shooting the shit, and it's just relaxing. I mean, just the smell that you'd run into at the fantail, to me, it was just awesome.
It's interesting. Another thing that's come out of this podcast is I talked to 3 guys from the Vietnam era. You probably heard them. The PN3, Warwick, and then SM3 Aiken, and then there was Chuck Panino. They're all friends still. They were there in the 70s, 72 through 75 or 6 or something on the Mount Hood.
Where shit was actually new and fresh.
It was a crazy time back then, but SM3 Aiken wants me to come visit him, and I might go visit him out in Kansas for a few days. He's like, come hang out. And I'm like, cool, I think I should close the circle on the Mount Hood. You know what I mean? Like bring the picture and the stories together. Because these are our sea ancestors. That's what I call them. That's what I tell them I call them anyways.
Right.
But, I was like, why not? Why not go visit, make a new friend with a former signalman that was on that signal bridge before, when I was 5 years old. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he was floating out to Vietnam. Just to think about how that all comes together in one story. You have something in common with that person. He didn't know there'd be some 5-year-old calling him up like 40 years later. He wasn't sitting on that signal bridge. He goes, there's probably a 5-year-old out there one day that's going to call me on a computer and then record me. And then, it's like a radio show, but I'd be like, that's science fiction.
And I don't know if you do this or other, people that have been on the hood that do this. It just sometimes, I'm sitting around and I'm thinking, I'm trying to walk in my mind. I'm trying to walk around the boat, to our old spaces, go up forward, go aft, go up to the bridge, imagine what just trying to remember what it looked like that, at night, and, or being on watch, making my rounds around all the magazine holes, and then having to report in on the signal bridge. And you think you're actually talking to somebody. You're actually talking to an empty fucking chair. And everybody on the bridge is laughing at you because you can't see shit.
Yeah.
And then you go through your entire spiel that you're supposed to say. I'm seaman recruit or seaman apprentice Ortega. I'm reporting for blah, blah, blah. Everything's, all good, whatever. And you go through your whole fucking spiel and you're talking to a fucking chair.
That's funny how that works, huh?
Yeah, and people are just laughing at you, and I can't see a fucking soul because everybody's at one corner. They're laughing at you, and you got to fucking say this whole damn spiel again.
There was that other young cat that I had on here, that was from L.A., and he was there in the Mount Hood, when in 1999, when the ship was in Washington, And he was, deck striker to gunner's mate, just like you. Mm-hmm. And I put you guys in touch with each other on Facebook.
Yeah, we've talked a few times.
That's cool. How does it feel to talk to somebody who went through that too?
Oh man, it's oh god. It's real enjoyable.
Torres, right?
Yes.
So it's pretty cool to talk to Torres, and just to hear his enthusiasm to serve on the ship. I mean, the guy, young guy, has a lot of pride, and he enjoyed the shit out of it. Some of us were bitching and went, I want to do this. I want to do that now. I mean, none of us really had a good plan afterwards. We thought we did. Right. We thought the plan would show up. We didn't have a bunch of college behind us or certifications or whatever it took to get the good job yet. We were doing well in the Navy. If you stuck in the Navy longer, you'd probably have more power in the civilian world or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of things that could have been done differently. If we knew how to write a resume worth of shit, it would have been like, what did your past job? Oh, I was a helicopter rescue firefighter. I was a communications specialist. I'm, doing top secret, blah, 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 blah. That would have sounded big. So
go ahead. When I first got out of the Navy, I of course, like you said, you don't know how to write a fucking resume. So I went to a place where you actually paid someone to do us, I guess,
Resume service. Yeah.
Yes. And of course, I had them pump out my resume. And of course, it doesn't look too good on your. I mean, this was right around the Oklahoma City, after the Oklahoma City bombing.
Right.
And told them, I knew about weapons. I knew how to make bombs. And I looked at the application and I was like, well, maybe that's not the right thing. Most,
the Timothy McVeigh shit is you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. And and I'm sure it made the lady nervous. And then where it says, where have you lived outside the U.S.? What's the last country you're living in? I put Cuba. And it made this lady nervous. I mean, she literally wanted to call law enforcement on me, and I was just like,
she didn't have a right to, but she thought she could because that's what they did in movies.
Exactly. and she said, well, you know how to make bombs, who puts that in on the application? And I was just like, well, it's not it wasn't exactly the smartest thing. And at the time, you're just like, what kind of fucking skills do I got? Knowing that information or having that set of skills, and then, putting down that I worked in the ship's office, and that's what I did. Towards the end of my naval career, I was just like, you learn real quick that there's not too many, positions out there for someone like with your set of skills.
Well, the truth is there is. Now that I'm a salesman, now that my wife's graduating, now that I've been a marketing guy, I mean, I'm not any of those, but those what became what I did afterwards, right? I don't do it anymore, but I understand the principles. I basically would have turned it in like, I would look like a superhero if I broke it down. I worked in management. I ran working parties. I managed up to 50 people at a time, running construction, shipboard construction, building, ventilation systems and this and that. Yeah, I get to do that. Well, I also went to all this different firefighting. I was the proximity suit fire rescue guy. I worked as a master at arms. I could have put all that down there and had a hell of a resume if I used the proper civilian language.
Oh, yes, yes.
And I said, this is what I did. Yeah. Then they'd be like, shit, give this guy a good job. But if you didn't think about it, if you looked at what you did in the office, I did administration, over 400, for 400 people, the ship. No, you know what I mean? You didn't think about how to put the numbers and the pieces together to sell yourself. We were like, please take me. We were trying to qualify to them. We were already qualified. You get it, what I'm saying?
Right. I eventually wound up getting a job. I worked at a hospital for the longest time. I think about 5 or 7 years. I mean, the job didn't pay worth a shit, but I mean, come on. I mean, I was in heaven. I was surrounded by, endless amounts of females. And, like I said, the job didn't pay worth a shit, but it was just, I was in heaven. I mean, what, young whippersnapper like myself at the time, I was surrounded by a whole building full of, medical females, at a hospital. And I was just like, hey,
you're the best looking guy in town.
Oh yeah. I mean,
it's all about number ratios, I mean, you put, and this is no insult to our former shipmates, but you put 50 women on the ship and 400 guys, and the women are going to be better looking than the guys because they have a scarcity principle working in their favor. But if you put 50 guys on the ship and they could be a bunch of ugly dirtbags, they're going to be studs. The same thing. Yeah. It's the same thing either way. It's funny how numbers play. So yeah, you're in a work environment that's very heavily female influenced. You're going to be the best looking guy in the laundromat pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah. Although, I mean, I guess, I wasn't as fortunate as some of my other male counterparts on the Mount Hood to interact with females there on board.
Oh, I didn't want to. Didn't want that bad mark on my record, man.
Well, yeah, that was part of it, running into problems like that. And then it just, the certain type of female that I seemed to attract. I mean, it was just horrible, and I couldn't understand my luck, and I would tell my buddies that dude, I don't know, why I attract a certain type of female that I do, but it's just like, I'm just better off just drinking. I mean,
You just got to know, you're too young to realize that you have to change what you settle for. And if you keep settling for the same thing, you keep attracting the same thing. And even me right now, I'm married for the third friggin' time. Now I'm a wizard up in the tower now. And I tell you what, I went 7 years. I did a self-study. I went 7 years single. And I said, I've attracted the same kind of fatalist person that ends up in a bad situation with me. I need somebody that's different. And the moment I start realizing whoever I'm dating is like the last one, I'm done. I'm out. Sorry. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. And I did that for 7 years. And then I met my wife and we hung out for a year and I just held back and I just watched how she was. I watched her character. I would watch their character because I didn't used to watch the character. I didn't used to watch where the ball was being thrown. I kept getting hit in the head. You know what I mean? So finally I said, okay, we haven't had any arguments. We get along on a good day or a bad day. We fix things fast. We're both intelligent. I didn't have 5 out of 6 of these things in the last 2 relationships. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I recalibrated it.
Is that you or me?
I think that's you. I think that's your bat phone. That's your bat phone right there, bro.
Oh shit!
Wait, work.
Oh, that's a damn what you call it, the printer.
Huh?
Well, it's freaking me out. I was like, damn, I'm getting a signal from up above.
Aliens are calling you.
But no, I mean, yeah, I see your point. It's just
the Navy. I kept dating the same problem after another. Hey, you like me? You must be messed up. Good, let's go out. You don't get it till you get older. When you want to recalibrate all that, when you're young, you just keep taking whatever you can get. You don't even think like I could do better than this. You're like, I've arrived. This is as good as it's going to get. I'm going to lie to myself and tell myself it's amazing. And that's what happens most of the time when you're young,
It's like you were saying. I mean, you're young. You think you got the world by the balls, and you get once after some liquid courage. Oh, I can talk to anybody, and of course, most guys they would talk to the first person that they'd see, first female that they see, but not me. I'd want to hit one out of the ballpark every damn time, and it was just it's more crash and burn than anything.
And guys would talk big. I'm the man. I get all the perfect ladies. They all love me. I'm Superman. Hey, you know what? You're going to be suffering the same misery as any other guy who's talking this smack. Trust me. We know it. You'd better be saying, I'm careful. I'm selective. I'd like to meet a quality woman. But instead you're trying to brag to your buddies how sexy ladies you get. And, you get a lot of sexy drama with that too.
Did you ever recall the Chaplain DeLong? She had I guess it was what did they call it, a ship's call or a captain's call, and she had a bunch of people on the mess decks, and she was talking to all the males on board, and she was talking all these males, they've been away from y'all's families for a while, and maybe you should take the time to embrace your significant other instead of jumping in the bed, or and everybody's looking at each other and they're kind of snickering, and they're like, who the hell is this woman talking about? I mean, they some of these guys, I mean, I'm not going to say that they were complete angels, but I mean, I think actually having a conversation was the farthest damn thing from their mind once they got their spouse back home.
Yeah, I think the first thing everybody wanted to do was to go home and shack up. I don't think we were going to practice the hard to get kind of game, especially when we had to be on watch tomorrow at 7:00 in the morning after pulling out from being away at sea for 6 friggin' months. I think that's the first order of business. It's not let's have a nice meal and go out to the park and listen to music. It's definitely let's get it on. That's really ask any sailor, ask any guy getting out of your jail. What's the first order of business? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I remember that
females included looking for their husbands, same thing.
And I was just like, everybody was snickering and I don't know. I guess she took her job seriously because she was real adamant about, that discussion that she had with the ship's crew. And I was just like, good Lord. I mean,
the name came right back to me. Chaplain DeLong. I don't remember what she looks like. I'll have to look her up.
Oh, I can tell you. She was about, I'd say 5'6", 5'7". Shoulder golden hair. I think she might have had blue eyes. I'm a real descriptive person right now when it comes to her.
Oh, is she that attractive?
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, she had it going for her.
Okay.
But
it's a nice way to say it. She'll probably listen to the podcast and call me and counsel me.
but I don't know. Yeah. Because I think every once in a while she would have somebody from the ship's office, do some paperwork for her, and then she wound up getting her own administrative assistant. But but that was I've never dealt with too many chaplains before, but that woman, she sure was different. I mean, but it just, I try to keep my conversation with her to a minimal because that was one of the few people I didn't curse around because I always had the notion that if I say one curse word in front of this woman, she's gonna write me up.
Oh yeah,
because I don't know. A lot of people thought that was funny because I mean I was always on my toes trying to bite my tongue, whenever I talked to this woman. But I mean. I don't know what made me first think of Chaplain DeLong, but
maybe because she was forbidden, she seemed very much more attractive. That could be it. The more forbidden something is, and you're in the Navy, okay. They said don't drink that paint thinner. Someone would find a way to do it, I guess.
the pain of a young, anguished young man.
Exactly right.
But did you ever take part in one of those burials at sea ceremonies?
I'm not sure if I did or not. I don't think so. You guys were doing the salutes, wearing the white straps around your boots and shooting your guns over the side. I never got a part to, asked to take part in that. It was always people like Hillebrand and the older individuals in the division that got a chance to do that. Oh, I don't know.
And I always thought, wouldn't that be a damn good way to go out? I mean, have Uncle Sam take your dead body out to sea and dump it in the Mother Ocean.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting way to go.
I mean, I imagine old salts do that.
Yeah, you can actually you can get a burial at sea. I think you're entitled to a free burial on military plots as a veteran.
I can picture someone like Bosun Johnson, going out like that.
Yeah, he's a salty guy. He looks great, man. He looks great for his age, and I think retirement's a toughie. It was great doing a podcast with him, but
correct me if I'm wrong.
Good.
Was he the individual that was always walking around with a damn coffee cup or a coffee mug?
Might have been that or a nightstick.
Or was it BMC Brooks?
Probably Brooks, because basically, Bosun Johnson, he got off just before Desert Storm. And what year did you get on?
90. I mean, I got there September of 90, I think.
Yeah.
I think September of 90. Because I hadn't even been there that long, maybe a month or two. And then the ship, we got sent to Concord. And then, we barely, it was our first or second day of liberty. And then they canceled all of the weapons liberty. And we had to start humping ammo.
So did you get there 89, you said?
No, 90. September,
90. So you got there just before we went to Desert Storm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you might have seen him for a month or a week or two, but he was there before you. He was there for a while. But yeah, he still lived on his ghost still inhabited the ship when you were there. Bosun Johnson, he left physically, but he was still there in spirit, even though he was still alive somewhere else.
I would hear stories about this cat. I mean, the way people talked about this guy, and I was like, damn, this guy must be one badass son of a bitch. I mean, because the way people talk to him, I mean, people actually, I mean, they had like something in their voice, fire or something. I mean, when they spoke about him, I mean, they had their undivided attention with this individual. And I was just like,
he was a sea legend. I mean, you'll hear like on one of my most recent podcasts, there's a bunch of guys and they are, they're sitting there talking about how they never, he was the role model for their lives. A lot of guys from deck, not all, but a lot of them. He was their role model. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's exactly what it's about. When you create that impression, when you become that guy that stamps your brand on these guys and they never forget you and they try to live up to your standards. He was one of those guys.
No, I mean, just like, the deck sailors, I mean, how they have this affinity for Bosun Johnson. I mean, to me, that, I guess for weapons guys around that time, that would be the same way for Gunner Stouch. I mean,
yeah.
And
for sure.
It just, like I said, the last discussion me and you had about Gunner Stouch is just, that name will always resonate with me. And, that drive that, was instilled in me, by being part of his division. I mean, it'll continue with me. And so, sometimes, I try to think I try to pass on a little bit of that drive onto my kids. And
for sure.
It's just, I don't know, to me, it's that being instilled with that drive. I mean, it just, don't be satisfied with just, the status quo, get the shit done that you need to get done and move on to something else. I mean, to me, that's
the best thing you can impart on your kids is, how to be proactive. I mean, teach them how to fish, because if they don't know how to fish, they're not going to get much done. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And it just, for the longest time, when, I don't know, I guess my kids would say that dad's getting sentimental, but I would always tell them, before I found out about the hood being scrapped, I said it would be so awesome, if we could just take a vacation and go see her. I mean, even if we couldn't have gone on board, just to get on a small boat and just go past her and just admire her. I mean, I'm sure, to wife and kids, it's just a big old
piece of metal.
Of metal, but
we were sitting there, me and about 15 guys or more all showed up. We all knew each other. We had a decent bond. We've hung out a bunch of times since then. Some are a little closer because, I mean, that's their best friend forever. You know what I mean? And,
exactly.
Like Sip and Harris. And, these guys showed up and they're hitting golf balls at the ship and we're drinking beer and doing shots out in the straight and on the parking lot. The cops rolled up because the civilians on the ship called them on us, and we're like, hey man, that's our ship. We're not trying to be jerks. And they're like, you know what? You guys are cool. Those guys sound like a bunch of dickheads. And then they let us take pictures on their cop car like we were getting arrested. And those guys on the ship were just hating. We're like, you don't know who you're talking about. That ain't your ship. You're just on it. That's our ship. You know what I mean?
And there was no way that
it was behind a fence. We couldn't walk on it now. Supposedly there might have been some old munitions or something in their mines or something they couldn't take out of there the way it was jammed in the holes or something. I don't know what it was.
Oh man, that's horse shit.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a tour boat anymore. I mean, it's not safe. So for all the lawsuits and ocean hazard shit, hazmat shit, you're not going to just let people walk around on it either. You know?
Well, I mean, that's a whole different podcast in itself. I mean,
yeah, well, I get the pictures of it. I get the photos. They're on the, all over the Mount Hood groups and all that. I put those up there. You know? I
mean, you can't begin to tell me that we weren't surrounded by a fair amount of lead.
Lead, every kind of lead. I mean, everything, every kind, you know, I mean, there was plenty of stuff, but I don't know. I mean, it's being in the Navy, growing up, it's your formative years. And anyone listening to it, you had a formative years, usually between 18 and 23, 4 or 5 years old. And if you had anybody of influence in the military, you get to have mentors and bosses, and some people you figured, I'm smarter than that old guy or whatever. But then you find yourself listening to some of the stuff he told you later down the road going, yeah, that was actually good advice, you know?
Well, you know, hearing the story, what Bosun Johnson was talking about, you know, or was it Zimmer about us getting the Battle E?
Yeah.
And then all the unreps that we had done. And for the life of me, of course, you know, being the age that I wasn't seeing the complete, you know, the big picture, considering, you know,
you can't see it till you are now. You can't, till you look in your rearview mirror, you don't realize how big Mount Everest was, right? As you mosey on down the road. And that's it. I mean, that's true. You don't realize till you hear Bosun Johnson, because I didn't realize how badass that ship was, that they were breaking any record ever done by any ship as far as unrep speed, you know, at 45, 47 transfers an hour compared to the average of 25 fleet wide. You know what I mean? It's like a Super Bowl team. And at one point, this resonated with me on the Bosun Johnson podcast, which I recommend everybody listen to if you haven't heard that one yet, is that he talked about if you want to take a break, you need to run so far ahead of the pack that you can take a break to slow down to let them catch up to you. Like, be so far ahead of your work and everything that needs to be getting done. Don't procrastinate. You know what I mean? And well, I mean, that makes sense right there. It makes absolute sense. It's one of those chiefly sayings, those rules to live by, you know? Go ahead.
But, you know, it's a funny thing, you know, like you were saying, you know, you get so far ahead and then you can take a break.
Yeah.
On that same note, there would be times where, you know, we'd wind up turning up or giving everything in that damn magazine hole, every piece of munition that we had, and we're just like, oh, thank God we can rest. Hell no, you got to go to another magazine hole, and we got to tear that shit down and give it up.
You had to go to the other magazine hole and pull some of those munitions to the other one so it balanced out the ballast of the ship, right?
Oh my God! Right? There's nothing like getting woken up in the dead of the night, and you know, not that they don't give a shit that you just came off watch or you just finished, you know, trying to do whatever, and then you barely been asleep an hour and a half, and next thing you know, the ship's listing. And of course, you got to level out the damn thing.
How funny is that?
You know? And it's just, you know, you signed up for this shit, Ortega. You know, you got to deal with it. And I'm just like, oh my God, when is this? Is this war over already?
You guys were working 24-hour days, 28-hour days. I mean, even Hillebrandt was telling me the same thing. There's nobody's story is exaggerated one over the other. No guy's like, dude, we had to do so much more than he said. I mean, no, it all matches up. Everyone's story lines up. All of it. You know, the more we put it together, it's funny. Everyone has a clear recollection of what happened. It's not like we're talking about a baseball game. You talk to 5 guys. The baseball game was in 1972. I think it was 13-12 or 21-19. You get a bunch of different numbers. But when you grind so hard, do that kind of a tough, dirty job and come out the other end of it, you know, it's not like you get overtime. You get mid-rats.
Oh, yeah.
You did not get, that's another thing to be said about the Navy. You did not get overtime. You did not get overtime, and you would work 24-hour days sometimes.
Nobody ever tells you how, like once you get to PI that sometimes you're going to get stuck with shit duty. Well, what do you mean shit duty? Oh, well, here's a bucket of paint. Yeah, I need to go paint the entire fucking gun mount. And I was like, well, shit, it's already got like 10 layers of paint. How am I going to paint something over it? Chip and paint the whole fucking day.
Oh, shit.
I mean, it's 100% humidity, and they want you to fucking chip and paint.
Oh, yeah, that's like the wet desert. You're in a tropical island, man. The wet desert. Yeah. That heat kicks your ass different than desert heat. They both kick your ass differently. There's a different, like, one's a punch to the head, one's a punch to the balls.
And I was just like, how do I got to be the only, SOB to get stuck with this fucking gun mount? And it's immaculate. I mean, the gun mount, it really didn't need that much paint, but they're like, they give you a hammer and something to chisel that shit off, and they're like, we want you to paint this.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh my God. I had a San Miguel hangover to begin with, and they want me to paint this whole damn gun mount. And I was just like, good Lord.
I had a good one. They wanted me to sweep the deck while it was raining to keep sweeping the rain off of it. I mean, you're outside running around the signal bridge with a big old push broom. Get all that water off the deck. No, keep getting it off. They're like, what are you talking about, man? It's going to drip down the side anyways. Drain off the bridge. You know what I mean?
Or another shit detail I had when I was in the ship's office. They would have me go wake up the officers.
How fun is that?
Yeah. And I'm just like, this ain't no fucking motel. You can have me wake up this SOB. I mean, whether you're old or you're old school or new school, people just didn't want to answer their fucking door.
Right.
And I was just like, oh my God, I hate to think that I got to wake up this person. And, nobody likes to get woke up early in the damn morning.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up Gunner Stouch. Get off my fucking door, Ortega.
Did Chiefs have their own? Chiefs didn't have their own staterooms, did they? What do they have? What was the Chiefs setup like? I never went to Chiefs berthing.
Oh, God.
I never saw it.
I don't think it was nice as what people thought it would be.
Okay.
Because as I seem to recall, there was a chief that stunk up he stunk up his area.
So they didn't get any bigger a rack than we did or anything. They didn't get any luxury upgrade. I mean, I know that the officers were like 2 men to a room unless they were like the XO or the captain.
No, I mean, yeah, it was for the officer. It was 2 officers to one. I mean, for one
stateroom,
for one area. Yes.
Yeah. And that was nice. That was a nice little stateroom.
I mean, I think it was an upgrade. I mean, compared to where,
the Chiefs had Chiefs mess though. Their Chiefs mess was like, yeah, that was living.
Well, I mean, it was a lot better than our accommodations. I know that, but
where did the officers eat? They didn't eat in Chiefs mess. Where did they eat?
Oh, God, well, up in the officers' wardroom.
I never saw that.
Brother, they had every imaginable box of freaking cereal you could possibly. I mean, every fucking imaginable cereal. I mean, I know when I was mess cranking, they had all the damn good cereal.
So they had good cereal, huh? I guess they were able to buy their own stuff and they didn't have to worry about 350 other guys stealing on it.
Well,
It was getting protected, you know?
well, I think whoever the first class was, I guess he had some kind of special account or something that all the officers they're on board. They gave him a list of whatever cereals that their favorite cereal, and he would go out and buy it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And,
He's a cereal salesman.
Brother, I'm not gonna lie. I had some cereal there. I mean, but, these cats, they ate good.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I don't know, but of course, I mean, the decorum. I mean, if the captain would eat with the other officers, I mean, you could hear a pin drop. I mean,
yeah, I can imagine that.
It was just real unique. I mean, of course, I exactly didn't feel like a mess crank. I mean, I felt more like an indentured servant. I mean, it was just.
Yeah, you do. You feel like a servant at a hotel. Yes, sir. May I pass you this? Because you have to call them sir already, so now you're already a servant. So you're mess cranking, and you're dealing with enlisted guys that you don't have to call sir.
Yeah, I mean, it was just. I didn't care too much for working in that area, and I was just real glad when I got fired and I got put in deep pots and pans.
Oh, I did that too. The scullery. Are you kidding? Yeah. No fun.
Have you had a chance to interview anybody from the mess cooks?
Yeah, I did one. He became an airborne guy. Joined the Army later, and then he became a sheriff. Yeah.
The only people that I can remember are MS1 Tanalega and was it a MS3 Yates or
could have been Arias sounds familiar. Yeah.
I mean, I think Arias that dude he went too nice once he got drunk.
Oh yeah.
That boy, he flipped the switch when he got drunk.
He became a wild man.
Nah, he became real angry and real, I don't know. He kind of had an attitude, but it just, I don't know.
Liquor didn't mix well with the people that dealt with a lot of stress all day. That's all. You know,
but I was just,
that's what the deal was. The people would get stressed out from work, getting yelled at by their superior, and then their superior would get yelled at by his superior. And as they always said, shit rolls downhill. So half the time it was misery loves company. And that's why people wanted to get off the ship and rip that liquor hardcore till they couldn't remember yesterday. You know what I mean? It's just how they did it.
Well,
I was one of them.
I always wondered how come there when, I didn't see too many fights on board, and I was just like, do other divisions handle it just like the way we did in WEPS? I mean, do they go to a certain area of the ship and?
I think Deck did, but Ops we didn't have a lot of fights. Not really. It's like we knew that we had a lot of common sense. We knew that our job, that it was going to get worse than the shit we were dealing with in front of us. Might as well just let it go, you know?
Cause I always got to give it to y'all ops guys. Y'all were some smart guys. I was just like,
yeah,
you know, I was like, man, sometimes I feel like we're the family members that, you know, they let you into the house, but they won't let you touch the beer.
Well, listen, like I said, part of the time back then, there was some criminal element, less educated guys that get sent to deck in a higher percentage. I'm not putting all of deck down because there's also some very smart people that were as smart or smarter than some of the ops people. You know, like when you talk to Zemer, you could tell he's highly intelligent, man. He's highly calibrated just by talking to him. I could tell the guy could do anything he wanted. You know, you talk to Bosun Johnson, he was offered to be a nuclear machinist mate. I mean, that's a super high rate, you know, like 100% ASVAB, but he loved the life as a sailor, the life as closest to a merchant sailor, as he said, you know, and he loved deck. Go on.
I could always. I remember the time that I did come across Zimmer. That brother had his shit together.
He did, didn't he?
Oh gosh, he had his shit together. I mean, I don't know. It's just the vibe that I got off of.
Yeah.
It just, whenever he spoke, I mean, I don't know. To me, you just didn't question him. I mean, it kind of like, I guess, Chief Hill, Gunnar Stouch, Chief, gosh.
There was a crew. I mean, Bosun Johnson gives a lot of credit to Zimmer. Like, I couldn't have done it without him,
And, gosh, what? You remember, was it Beto or Beto?
Yeah, Beto. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he was
you better memory than me.
Baby Neptune.
Baby
they called him
Neptune.
during what? The Shellback ceremony.
Oh, yeah.
I almost threw up on him.
Oh, yeah. You had to eat the olive out of the belly or whatever that was.
Out of the navel. Oh, my God. I wanted to puke so damn bad.
Yeah, that was there. Was BM2, was Hazlitt there too when you were Bosun's mate?
Oh, brother, I can't. I mean, the name sounds familiar.
Well, we need a cruise book to jog it all back, but I think we gave people a run for their money, and it's been good doing another podcast with you. This one's like totally chill. They're like, not trying to pump me full of information, but it is an interesting podcast because we're just sharing our Navy experience as we remember it. We don't have a script. We don't write 50 questions and try to produce it like it's a radio show. That's the whole intent of this, right?
Exactly, brother.
So
it's therapy for the soul.
It is. Let me ask you, on the past few podcasts, which ones you were digging? What you were liking, Bosun Johnson, and you listened to whatchamacallit? You listened to Torres, of course. You listened to Lopez. And and then Tony. I didn't know you work with Tony. I didn't realize you work with Tony.
Yes.
So funny.
Even though, at the time when Tony was on board, me and Tony, we didn't have the best of interactions. I can sure as hell, look back at it now, and he sure did put up with a lot of shit, shit that he didn't have to put up with coming from this young punk. And I have regrets, and I'm kind of glad that he, whether it was reluctantly or willingly, I mean, at least he took the time to pull me to the side and just tell me, look me in the eye and say, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah, he knew what he had a lot of clear focus. I remember that about him. He's a good guy. I've known him for a while, same as you, But
it just, I have a real admiration for people like Tony, Hillebrand.
Yeah. And you haven't seen them in forever. They've grown up to be some very high quality gentlemen, So that's the good thing about it. Everybody's grown up and doing good. But I want to wrap it up. I want to say thank you for coming to my rescue, because I've been low on guests lately because it's the holidays, I guess, and everybody's hiding under their Christmas tree with some eggnog and whatever, dressing up like elves and shit.
I'd like to put out there, for those veterans, that deal with whatever issues that they may have. I don't feel like that you're alone. I mean, because I deal with my own issues. I have my own mental issues as far as PTSD and what have you. A
lot of guys do from the ship.
I have anxiety attacks, panic attacks. It's just the holidays do tend to get me down. You're not alone. I mean, you're not the only person that goes through this. If you ever have whatever type of thoughts in your head, don't do what you're thinking. I mean, take the time to talk to other people. whether it's your family or a friend of the family or somebody you work with, take the time to talk to them, because it's during the holidays like this, it gets incredibly depressing for somebody like myself, and it just having an avenue like this to talk to you and other former shipmates out there, it's real comforting that, there's other people like us out there, and never think that you're alone. You might feel like you're alone, but you're the only one suffering, but you're not. Please take the time to talk to somebody. Don't take things in your own hands.
That's a good message, my friend. And I hope everybody's having a good holiday so far. You had a good Thanksgiving. Make sure you check us out on Facebook on AEC Stories podcast on Facebook, and follow us on aecstories.podbean.com. I keep saying to go to iTunes, but Podbean gets the most followers. So join us there. Follow the podcast. I've got thousands of listeners and people all over the world. Tune in.